The effects of weaponized faith.
Faith is when religion or spiritual belief is used not to uplift, but to control, justify harm, silence opposition, or consolidate power. Throughout history, belief systems have inspired incredible compassion, but they've also been manipulated as tools of domination. Here's how weaponized faith tends to operate and the effects it produces. Number 1, political control and empire expansion. Faith has often been fused with state power to legitimize conquest or authority. The Crusades were framed as holy missions, but resulted in mass violence and territorial conflict. The Spanish Inquisition used religious doctrine to persecute, torture, and eliminate dissent. The doctrine of discovery provided theological justification for European colonization and the seizure of indigenous lands. Effect: religion becomes a moral shield for violence. Questioning authority becomes equal to questioning God. 2, psychological control and internalized guilt. Weaponized faith often relies on fear of hell, punishment, exile, or divine rejection. Persistent shame narratives, fear-based obedience, suppression of curiosity, trauma around sexuality or identity. Effect: people disconnect from their intuition and outsource their moral compass to institutions. Cultural erasure. Faith has been used to dismantle existing spiritual systems. Indigenous cosmology labeled as pagan or savage, sacred practices outlawed, ancestral languages tied to spirituality erased. Effect: communities lose connection to ancestral identity, memory, and sovereignty. 4, social division. When faith is weaponized, it creates rigid us versus them binaries, believer versus infidel, saved versus damned, chosen versus cursed. Effect: violence becomes justified, compassion becomes conditional. Now 5, economic exploitation. Religious institutions have at times accumulated wealth through mandatory tithing under threat of divine consequence, indulgences historically, prosperity doctrines promising financial blessing in exchange for offerings. Effect: faith becomes transactional, poverty becomes spiritualized. 6, suppression of knowledge. Throughout history, institutions have resisted ideas that threatened religious authority. The trial of Galileo Galilei for supporting heliocentrism. Conflicts between certain churches and evolutionary theory following Charles Darwin effect. Progress slows, inquiry becomes rebellion. The deeper psychological mechanism. Weaponized faith works because belief shapes identity. If God is authority, authority speaks for God. Then obedience feels sacred, dissent feels sinful. That is a powerful psychological structure. Important balance. Faith itself is not the problem. Spiritual traditions have also inspired abolition movements, fueled civil rights struggles, built hospitals, universities, and mutual aid systems. For example, leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. drew from Christian theology to fight oppression. Faith can liberate or dominate, depending on who wields it and for what purpose. If you'd like, I can